And we're back. Hey, I'm Ossie from Three Monkey Solderless, home of the world's best cables for your pedal board for both power and audio. Power audio. All right, so it's a new year and maybe some new stuff. Hope everybody had a good holiday. It's good to be back. So I think I want to shake things up a little bit and maybe start a new project for some brain floss and to kind of, get a new perspective on things. Sometimes when you're working on one thing for too long, it can get where you don't really make a whole lot of forward progress. And then it's usually a good idea to kind of put that aside and then start working on something that's maybe tangential or entirely different. And that can kind of, reset your ears. And, it's not so repetitive and, without any inspiration. So it's not going to go too far from what's always been going on here at the channel. I figured I like unique sounds, right? That's really what I'm about. I love like kind of unique sounding things and textures and the way that things are put together in a different way. Like a lot of people have different ideas of what, sound should be, recorded sound specifically, or recording music specifically. I don't know where I'd fit on that in terms of like if we were to relate that to art, whether I'd be more like a surrealistic kind of person or, not really like hyper, let's say like hyper reality. I don't know. I like things that sort of transcend reality and create a whole new thing of their own, impressionistic things like that. Trying to, in a sense, be scientific and try to capture something as accurately as possible. That is, I think a lot of people like to do that, and I'm cool with that. I prefer somebody or some sounds that don't exist in reality, or taking a sound that exists in reality and turning it into something that doesn't really exist, right? So that's why I loved the first Van Halen album sound so much, is because that does not sound like a normal guitar. It doesn't. It transcends that sound. A lot of people would say, the best job you can do a recording is to make it sound on tape exactly like it did in the room, like you were sitting there in the room for that. And I'm like, it can be cool, but I prefer a lot of those producers and engineers that would take it to a place where you've never heard it before. And it creates a sonic portrait or landscape that is not in reality, right? Like the Doobie Brothers. That is not what a band sounds like live, right? It transcends the music and becomes a texture and a color all of its own. So in that vein, I figured maybe explore 1984. Now that was sort of like a later sound. It's very different than Van Halen 1. But it has this tonal characteristic to it, which is strange. It once again transcends the sound of the guitar. Now, I'm not saying that they did this on purpose, right? A lot of times things just work out that way and it becomes transcendental. And in any case, regardless of whether you're setting out to this, I've always been of the opinion that nobody ever sets out to create exactly what they finish with, that it's sort of like coming a little bit from here, and you end up with a product. And that is the result of a multiplicity of interrelated actions and components that may be unrepeatable and creates a final product which is unique. And that's what I like. So this is sort of, hard to do because you're trying to really create something or recreate something that is going to be nearly impossible to do. But you do learn things while you do that. So let's look at 1984. So it had a very unique sound. It was like this really strange, ultra bright, crunchy, had this resonant frequency to it, which was kind of bizarre in a way. Really, the sound of the pick grabbing the strings. It wasn't overly distorted in one way, but was totally distorted in another way. So it wasn't like, a triple rectifier sound, but it sounded more like an old school Marshall, but it was like so much more than that. Had so much more dynamic, so much more gain, sounding wise, that it was sort of a conundrum. Like, how is this possible for this to be these two things at the same time? A low gain sound like you would get from an old Plexi, but but sounding like really just hyped to the max. I'm even of the opinion that he didn't even run the amp all the way up for that album. May have taken advantage of that kind of honky sound that you get from the bright capacitor on a Plexi when it's sort of, in that sweet spot that everybody loves, like around 1 o'clock on the volume. So we're going to explore some of that. So I figured to start doing that, let's just go into GarageBand. And I've created a new just sort of blank plot project that'll have my microphone, a left and right guitar signal if we need it, and then one track of isolated guitar. And I just picked Panama because it was the one that was easily available. Each sort of song does have a different approach to how it was recorded, different reverbs, more room or less room sound, some distortion, more distortion, different guitars, different things like that. But we're going to pick Panama since it's a readily available isolated track, and it sort of has that bizarre sort of thing going on. We're going to use, again, the Marshmallow, as always. I'm really happy with the way, for once in my life, I'm really happy with the way the amp seems to be sounding, seems to be working. So I haven't touched it, same as it was last year. The only addition is going to be, I'm going to start using the Stomp, the Aux Stomp pedal, Universal Audio, which is a line level version of the Aux, cabinet, whatever they call it, the Aux amp top amp, whatever they call it, box, the big Aux. This is the smaller version since this amp has a line out on it and it's internally loaded. It's sort of like a perfect little match. And what I want to do is eventually start adding in effects and things and see how close it can be, how close we can get to the sound without, relying too much on, studio effects. We're going to have to do some, but I'd like to be able to, again, play this sort of thing live, like, through full range monitors, like the Van Halen 1 stuff. So, we've got that stuff. And then the guitar is going to be different. So I threw this guitar together real, over the holidays, added some parts that, in my parts bin, so to speak. So what we have over here is we have an old Kramer body. It's an 80s Kramer body, right? But it's a Japan one. It has the bigger neck plate on it and that cavity on it. And I've got a Warmoth neck on it, bird's eye kind of thing. It's kind of fat. I don't know if you could see that or not, but it's like it's a boat neck kind of thing. And it was when I was trying like big necks and things, I might have to sand this thing down to nothing. But I threw that on there anyway. The body is maple and it's heavy. I mean, this is a heavy guitar for sure. Those Focuses, I think they were made out of maple. The wood in the pocket looks like maple, and it certainly weighs like it would be maple. Has the old Floyd Rose on it from the 80s. This Floyd Rose, this might be actually from the very first Kramer, or very first guitar, like Kramer guitar I owned, which was a C series Kramer. So this may be one of those, but it's from 84, 85, something like that. And the pickup is a DiMarzio, and it's a PAF version. I think it's the Eric Johnson. I have to double check on that, but I think it's the Eric Johnson humbucker. It's really unusual sounding. It's got some good output, not too crazy, but it has this really kind of cool, bright kind of sound to it. We can also pull out a Flying V, a Carina V with some PAF type pickups from Hamer, and look at that, how it works into the mix too. So there's all kinds of stuff going on with the amps and guitars that we could sort of put together. But for today, we're going to use this guitar right here. So without much further ado, let's go into GarageBand and start looking at the track through like a frequency analyzer. Maybe we'll talk a little bit about, frequencies and what they mean and how they relate. All right, so I'll see you in GarageBand. Here we are in GarageBand. We've got our 4 channels right here. So we've got my mic, obviously. We have the left and the right channel coming out of the Aux Stomp, and then we have the Panama track. We're not using any effects right now, but what we're going to do is we're going to I have a limiter on just to help with my voice to keep it from blowing out the microphone too much and keep it up. But anyway, let's start with a simple channel EQ so we can have the frequency analyzer that you can see there. And we're going to run the track, the Panama track, and just kind of look at it and see what we can see. So let's begin. All right, so you can already kind of see that there's some unusual peak activity somewhere in this area. All right, let's look at it again. Which puts us around, let me move this to see where we're going to be. Around 650. There's some more low end here around 330. We got some peaking right around here, 2600. And you can see how much information we have. Now you can see how much information we have out here, right? Which is well beyond what a Celestion speaker is going to produce. So we're seeing, you know, we're seeing a lot of activity, a lot of signal, even around 7,500, right? So let's put that up again and look around this area here and try to see where it starts to roll off. Okay, so it looks like right around here, around like 4,800 hertz is what it starts to fall off, but there's still an enormous amount of information out here, which is surprising, right? It's very flat. Right, it's very flat from somewhere around 300-400K all the way out to 4,800, 5,000 hertz, which is very unusual for like a straight up like guitar sound, right? A normal guitar sound. Now let me just let's put on the marshmallow. It is on, and we're just gonna play a tiny bit to look at the frequency of like the straight guitar sound. See how, I mean, it falls off an absolute cliff, my guitar sound here with the marshmallow, as it is around 5K. There's none of that information really beyond that. Now, granted, you know, like frequencies are also, you know, it's confusing. This is where you start to get to something that's like quantum mechanics, right? Like, what is light? Is it a particle or a waveform? Well, it's both, right? So what are we looking at in terms of like bass and treble, in terms of frequency ranges? They're notes and enhancements, right? So when you play a different note, you're likely to get different sort of shapes here, right? So let's go from a low E, feedback, versus, right? You can see how it's a note. Now, if we go and do something crazy, like let's take a harmonic, a guitar harmonic, you know, and we'll dive bomb it and bring it up and watch the waveform, right? Now let's try once again. Bring it. I'll try it the other way. Let's try it with a note too. So I'll bring that down as low as I can. Let's bottoming out. You can sort of see how as the note gets higher, it sort of moves obviously to the frequency of the actual note played, right? See how that hump moves? So it's a little deceiving sometimes because, you know, if you find a note that the chord being played has a big, you know, a big influence on what the analyzer is sort of looking at. But it can show where there's a reinforcement piece, which is what we're sort of looking at. So let's go back in and listen to this track again from the beginning, and I'll try to see if I can play over it. Hopefully the guitar is sort of in tune with that still. And we can look at the differences between the two sort of tracks here. Okay, let me rewind the track all the way, and then we'll listen to it and see what we see. All right, I'm going to have to lower the volume of Ed's track. Let's try to just equalize those volumes real quick. Okay, I think that's close enough, but what we basically want to look at is this, you can see there's a different sort of like reddish color on there. So you can sort of look at the differences, right? Just had to tune that in a little bit better, but all right. So I think the first thing that we notice, obviously, it's fairly close as it sits right now in the areas where my guitar actually lives, which is, you know, not where Eddie's goes beyond that in this track. So I think what we need to do is we're going to have to get a way of hyping up everything that's sort of like out there beyond, you know, 5K. So let's take some low-hanging fruit here. And I think the best thing we can do, right? Well, since we want to affect both channels at the time, we're going to do it on the master. So my voice is going to get to sound really weird, but that's okay. So we're going to do this on the master bus for right now, and then maybe we can move it. No, that's not a good idea because then we're going to affect the dry track or the guitar track too. So we'll go to the left track. You know what? We're going to have to delete this track. Let's delete the right track. We'll go to the left track only, and we'll start building it off of that track, and then we'll duplicate that for the right side. And then when we should have what we're looking for. All right, so let's begin with this. We're not on the master, we're on track, and let's start adding some plugins. So I think the first thing, let's use some low-hanging fruit and just use an exciter. This is just like a free exciter that GarageBand provides you. So let's start off right now. Let's put in that 650 hertz thing, right? And let's add a little 650 hertz because we saw that somewhere around there. So 650, and let's drop it down like around there and just start listening to it. And I'm going to pan this again down the middle so we can hear it, right? And I have a little bit of room set on the aux stomp, so it kind of helps with giving it that ambient sound. So let's say let's add a little bit more of that. 650. Let's bring it up. Like 2. Oh, that's maybe too much. Let's bring it up around 4 and see where that does it. I can hear that's in that. Let's bring it up a little bit more even. Oops. Let's bring it up to 7. Oh, now we're getting somewhere. Maybe a little more. Maybe a little more. That's too much. Maybe a little less. All right, let's try that. Okay, so that's 1. Now we need to, we'll just add another exciter. Let's just stack some exciters and get this thing really exciting. We saw some stuff. Let's bring it up. Let's bring it up around 8,000 hertz, somewhere around there, right? Yeah, let's try that. And let's see what that brings us, right? Let me turn it off and then... Let's get some more of that going. Let's really, it's 8 that we got to go up high. We really do, because we had nothing there. That's starting to sound better. Let's keep going up. Let's just jack it up. Let's see what happens. That sounds terrible. Let's bring it back down. Let's try it there. That's not too bad. Maybe go down a hair like that. Okay, let's leave it there. Let's add another one. This is crazy. So another band of excitement. So this would be accomplished with something like, I don't know, a pretty strong EQ. Like maybe a Pultec would do this, right? Because a Pultec, you could get all this going. So we probably should have just pulled up a Pultec. So I know we had Lang EQs, which were copies of Pultecs, but this is pretty easy to just kind of. This is a process. We're gonna do this thing like a process, so it's gonna take a little bit. You know what I'm saying? It's not gonna happen all at once. We're gonna need to do a couple of things here, a couple of things there, trim some of that, do some of this. You know what I'm saying? Where the hell are we? Oh, let's go way up there. Let's put some real stuff to it. Why does this look different? What did it do? Oh, that's why. I squished it. We're going to go way up. Let's go for, I don't know. Let's go up that's as high as it goes. 1500 hertz, let's say. And how much of this do we want to go up? Let's go up the same amount as the other one. Or where do we have it at? We had that at 148. So let's bring this one up to... Oops. Okay, 148. Let's see what we got here. Turn it on. All right, now let's try bringing down the 800, or rather 8K a bit. Let's bring that down a little bit so we can maybe scoop that out a little bit. Let's try it. Maybe down a little more. Okay, that sounds good for what I'm looking for. The next thing I think we should do is let's look at it now in the analyzer. All right, it's starting to come to life. We may need to put a little bit of a shelving guy there. Not on the master, though. That was a bad idea. Okay. All right, now let's add in, which will kind of smooth this out, I believe. Let's add onto this track, let's add some reverb. I think that's going to be necessary. So we're going to go with, I think Eddie used Lexicon Primetimes, but I don't have a plugin for that. So we're going to go into the Sunset, and we're going to use, let's use some plates. So let's do this one and see what that sounds like. That sounds pretty lexiconish. Bring up the dry. Now we got to take this down a little bit. See what that sounds like. Maybe a little less. Still a little bit less is needed. Maybe a little more. Let's try it there. It kind of has a lot of, let's decay it down a bit so it doesn't last as long. Let's go up a little bit. Maybe a little more. Tiny bit more. Okay. It's not as mellow as I thought it was going to get. All right, so let's go back into the exciter and let's go to this one. 92 may be a bit much. So let's say, let's go down, let's half it. Let's just say that. So that might make sense. So let's go to 47 and see what happens around there. Say 46, and on the next one, we'll go to 77, around there. Close enough. Let's see what we get. Feedback protection. I'm wearing headphones. How's it detecting feedback? Sting. You know what? I like that for a start. Now let's duplicate this channel. Track, new track with duplicate settings. All right. This one has the input. What's the input on this? 3 on the Scarlett. So this one's got to be 4 on the Scarlett to get the other side. Okay, so that's on. And this track is going to be renamed track, rename track, right. Okay. And let's see if we could start getting a little bit of a stereo spread, left and right. Let me mute this for a second. Mute the mic and let's... It's going to need to bring our levels up a little bit. So that was at plus 4 dB. Let's bring this one up to plus 4. Okay. I messed up those harmonics bad. It's the Clam Man's back again. Wait a second. That actually makes those harmonics nuts. And well, oops. The amp is turned up pretty high. Let's back off the amp again to the 1 o'clock on the volume. Maybe let's turn it up. That actually sounds pretty cool. I think with like chorus and all that stuff, that'd be pretty good. I mean, what I intend to do is to use some Eventide pedals from before. Use a delay pedal and a harmonizer pedal, the pitch factor, and a reverb pedal, the space. And then hook that up with the aux stomp, and then I'll have like through full range monitors, I should be able to get the sound I'm looking for. But in terms of the exciters, getting the exciters where I want them, that'll work too with full range monitors, which is really cool. I'll just need to get, an exciter, or rather, something that's capable of producing some high frequency sort of boosts that are up there, where we're working at 15K, 6K, 8K, or 6, something like that. Let me listen to the track one more time. Let's listen to it again. We're a little high fidelity in some ways compared to that track. I mean, that track is okay, but it really doesn't have, it sounds kind of like it's, a copy of a copy of a copy sort of thing, but we can get the relationships between things. Live he always does, he sort of bends that low E note as opposed to okay, just for giggles, I wonder if I have anything that's like a chorus that I can put on. We got to put it on the master for it. You know what? We don't. One side can be a pitch shift. Is there a pitch shift here? A pitch shifter. Let's see. It would amps, delay, distortion, dynamic EQ, filter, imaging, modulation. There we go. Modulation, pitch shifting, ring shifter, phaser, delay, phaser, flanger, ensemble. Pitch. Oh, it's right there. Duh. You guys are probably yelling at me. It's right there. It says pitch, you ding dong. All right, semitones. That's bizarre. This reminds me a little bit more of this. That was a really bad one. Went out of tune. It's weird. I'm not shifting the pitch at all, but it sounds like it. All right, so we'll leave that. I just banged the mic. You're all ready to murder me. Okay, so that's on that side. Now I'm thinking, let's take out a little less. Let's take out some more excitement. Let's go down, let's go down to 20 on this. Let's half it again and see what we get. It's a little less exciting. I know. So let's go 38. Somewhere around there. I mean, we're just trying to, see what we can see and get our feet wet. It's a long way off still. Let's take this out and see what happens. It needs that for sure. Maybe we need to go up a little bit on that. Let me listen to this for a couple of seconds and see what we get. It's not terrible. It really helps that stuff jump out. Starting to like that. All right. Let's look at what will be the next thing that we would need to do. Might be to add a little bit more room sound before on which side? You know what? Let's add it on the side with the harmonizer. That might be weird. So let's put it in the beginning and see what happens. So we'll go back to the sunset. And then we're going to want to go to live rooms. And probably not too much of it. So let's go down like around here. And let's see what it sounds like. It's not bad. Maybe it needs to be on both. Let's bring that down. Let's just see for poops and smiles. If we go to the live room from Studio One at 24 dB down, or 24, okay? And that's on this track. So let's bring the same thing in here too and see what we end up with. So we want to go live room, Studio One, wet all the way up. God, I hate doing this. It's close enough. Close enough for rock and roll for right now. Let's see what we get. I feel like one of the sides is a little weird. It may be that pitch shifter. So let's go back to this side. And let's take out the pitch shifter real quick. Yeah. We got to reboot the pitch shifter. Maybe we should put the pitch shifter on both for right now, so we can even that out. Where did we have it on this? Oh wow, we were pitch shifting the reverb. I like that idea. All right, so let's do that again. Pitch shift. There we go. And it was at what, 50%? At 0. So we got to bring this up to like 50. Sounds like a machine gun. Okay, there we go. This thing is doing some weird stuff. I'm not digging this pitch shifter. It's just messing everything up too much. Every time you stop playing it, it does something different. We're getting rid of that. We're going to use the real pitch shifter. All right. There's still one frequency that we need to get at. All right. Let me look at one way to find a frequency. I think this is going on too long. But one way to find a frequency is to use a cut until it doesn't sound the way you like it anymore. So let's go into adding something like a parametric EQ, single band. Let's see. Is it a parametric? Yes. Okay. And then a parametric just basically allows you to like razor blade into a particular frequency with what is called the Q factor. And the Q factor is basically the narrowness or width of the band that you're going to be cutting. So a very wide band would be like a Q of 100 is like affecting everything. The smaller you go, it's going to try to surgically remove something. So let's go for a nice Q, like let's start around with like a Q of 1, and then we can slide this back and forth until the sound that I'm trying to find, I feel, disappears from the track. So let's rewind it again. You know what we have to do, actually? I think we should go the other way and boost and see what we get. That's right where we were. 8100. So let's go back in and let's look at one more time. We were at 8400. Huh. So that's, you know what we might need? We might need some of that 330. That might be what's missing. All right, so let's go back in and let's do that again. Let's grab another, this is crazy, but we're going to grab another exciter. And we're going to bring it down around 330, which was close to where we wanted to. We could use the parametric too for this, which would have been fine too. Okay. Now let's mute this channel here just so we just hear what we're doing. And let's see what effect it has. Huh. Okay. Now let's bring the same thing. So it was what was it? We just did 310, 10.6. All right, so let's add that in here. Another exciter. 310, 10.6. Okay, let's see what we got. Let's remove the room. I think that was messing things up a lot. That's too much, I think. So let's just bring it around 2% for each channel. I'm just swinging in the dark here, so for you guys that are like, what are you doing? You should have been over there. I got this already. Sorry. Now it's getting chewy. And out of tune. I like where we're at. Okay, so I think my ears are starting to get tired. I'm sure yours were tired a long time ago, even if you're still here. So let's save the project. And we'll continue this. So let's get out of GarageBand, and I will see you in reality. All right, so I think that was kind of interesting, seeing how, where his frequencies were hanging out in on that album and how much high information there was there. There's probably more than one way to skin this cat. So we've just basically, stuck the very tip of our toe in the vast ocean of what's been going on in there. But you have to start someplace, right? You're never really starting at the finish line. You just kind of middle it, and you got to begin someplace. So that's what you always do. You don't worry too much about where you're at in the beginning, but just gradually, accustom yourself to the sounds you're trying to recreate. Don't wear yourself out on it, because eventually, your ears will get fatigued and you'll start to chase your own tail. You'll keep trying the same approaches over and over again, and you'll lose, your progress. So it's a good idea to stop, reassess where you're at, come back with fresh ears. And listening to this on the playback, I might be like, oh my God, what the hell was I doing? That sounded like absolute crap. But it's sort of, even finding out that is good information for you when you're trying to create kind of a sound. So I guess where we ended up with was just, the amplifier actually, I got it turned up higher than I thought I was going to. I thought I was going to like it better at 1 o'clock on the volume, but we've got it, sort of all the way up. And we had the stomp set. I should just quickly go over that. It's on the greenback setting. So that may not be ideal either. I think he probably was using some greenbacks. Oops. There may also have been some direct signal. We'll have to look into that as well, because that information that was well beyond, the 3K, 5K range could very well have come from the direct sound of the amplifier itself and tailoring that to fill in the missing sort of things, which we could explore, but that'll be more difficult to do in sort of a live play it as you want through full range speakers kind of setup. So we're not doing that. But anyway, so we had the room up about 2 o'clock. Speaker drive, not much. I didn't really mess with that at all. Who knows if it's optimum, but it's about 10 o'clock. Both left and right channels were even, and they were both dynamic microphones, so SM57s, right? So greenbacks, SM57s, some room, not much, speaker breakup, and that's how we did. We should have just checked what would happen if we went to, let's say, ribbons. I think he was using SM57s, but you know what? This is not an SM57 either. So we could use whatever we want. Let's see what the condensers sound like for that. Go back to dynamics. What if one was a condenser? Maybe. No. You back it down just a little bit. Nah. Okay, yeah, let's just leave it there. I think it was just sort of picking fleas out of bad memories right now. All right. So anyway, it's good to be back and to do some chasing, do some tones. And, you know, we're kind of going to weave all over the place. But I think the next thing I want to do is put together the pedal board with all the Eventide stuff on it. So the next time we meet probably will be in the pedal board creating kitchen. And we'll wire up a board and we'll bring it back up into the submarine studio. And we'll, you know, start plugging it in and seeing how it sums up versus, you know, the... Obviously, I think the pitch shifting is going to be better with the Eventide unit. I think that the Eventide space unit may provide a better reverb that might be closer to a Lexicon. I've got some small Lexicon, you know, LXP ones, and another, somewhere around here, there's a rack Lexicon. Nothing too, you know, like a cheapy Lexicon rack, but it might be interesting to play. But I want to keep it to pedals. So that'll be good for today. So again, thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you again next time.